Well, hello. Welcome to Mind Your Business. I am Amma Duncan, founder of the Fabulous Woman Network. I love to help others, including you, on your personal development and business journey through training, coaching, mentoring, events, and writing. Mind Your Business is our weekly podcast where we share enriching content to help Africans, especially women, create wealth and impact people. Now, Mind Your Business is one of our free resources, similar to some of the free trainings we do and the book reviews and things like that. But if you prefer to work with me one-on-one as your coach, your trainer, or your consultant, it starts with a discovery call. Kindly go to amaduncan.com/store to book a call with me, or you can also find the link in the caption. Now, since the past couple of weeks, we've been doing a series that I've entitled Understanding the Times, based on Dr. Margaret Swarbrick's 8 dimensions of wellness. So we are looking at the different aspects of when we say someone is well, or looking at wellness in totality. There are 8 different dimensions. We've been looking at, I think so far we've looked at spiritual, physical, emotional, financial wellness in the past few weeks, and we have a few more left. Now, why is this important? We are in times that some people have called not normal. If you listen to last week's episode, Dr. Evans, whom I call Dr. Wealth, talked about the fact that these are not normal times, like prices of goods and services. Thank God, I think hopefully that now they are stabilized, but it just kept running. Actually, the minute I said the word stabilized, I remembered something that I recently got, and then a few days later, it had gone up again. So it's not just about the pricing of goods and services, or the fact that the dollar has gone up, or depending on which country you are listening to this from. You may have, your own, whatever is happening there. But first of all, I don't believe this is new. And so whatever is happening, there's always a way out. There's always something, a precedent, or something that has happened before, and we've learned from them and we can apply them. And so that's why I think it's important just to have these conversations of how to take care of ourselves in these times. So for this week, we are going to look at occupational wellness. Occupational wellness. First of all, let's define what occupation is. And one of the definitions given by Merriam-Webster for me, I think that's it for me, when it says it's an activity in which one engages. So the things that we do, right? Occupation encompasses what we spend our time doing, I know. However, for the focus of this conversation, we want to think about the things that we do that bring us income. Okay, just for this conversation, because I know occupation, it can be very many different things, but let's focus on what's bringing us our daily bread, as we like to say. Now, another thing, most people, and perhaps you may be thinking of work-life balance, which is appropriate when we talk of occupational wellness, but I want us to start by focusing on the work part. To be honest, it ties in with the life. You spend majority of your waking hours working, for most of us anyway, especially for those of us who are not, I was going to say for those of us who are not in business, but then I think I may be wrong. Most of us, especially business people, I think spend way more time working, right? So the conversation may be skewed more towards work than work-life balance, right? So, occupational wellness. Now, let me just give a little background. For 8 years, I was actually in human resources in my last corporate employment. I was actually at a point even head of human resources. And for my master's, my MBA, I actually did HR. So, this was more like something I experienced as a role, and then I also studied it. But in about the 11 years that I was in full-time employment, I was in corporate, mostly corporate, right? And I think it's been 6 going on 7 years since I left corporate to focus on building my own corporate. Let's put it that way. Now, when I was preparing for this, I started reflecting on some of my feelings and thoughts as a corporate employee, spanning from like when I used to work in the UK, when I worked in the US, and then majority of my work life though has been in Ghana. Majority, like 10 years out of it. No, not 10 years, maybe 9, 8. Okay, so let's focus, Amma. Okay, so some of the positives for me were the joys of having jobs that were adventurous. I remember when I was in the UK, there was this company that I temped in 1 year. Getting to the end of the year, I helped them to wrap things up for about 3 months. And then the following year, I went again, and I was always so excited. And one of the employees there was like, why are you so happy coming to work here? I mean, for majority of them, they thought it wasn't the best place to work, but I was just so happy working there. It was one of my first proper corporate job, like an office job. So I was really excited. I learned so much. So I loved the adventurous nature of work, that no day was ever the same. In most of the jobs that I've had, no day is ever the same as the day before. There's always something different. Either that, or I am the kind of person who always looks for something different, even in the same. So anyway, I loved the adventure bit of work. I also, especially in the beginning when I started working, I also loved the opportunity to learn from others. Like, it was probably mostly at work that I realized that there are a lot of differences in the way we think and perceive things. So it was really interesting to learn many things from other people. I also loved, especially in my last job, I loved that the values of that company aligned with my personal values. In fact, it was at this particular company that I even gained that much awareness about my own personal values. And I realized that, oh gosh, they were in alignment with what the company also valued, right? And then, of course, I loved wearing suits and heels. Ooh, I loved it. Even though I got laughed at because I couldn't walk in heels well, but sister didn't even care. I just enjoyed wearing it. And then I loved working in beautiful environments. Oh, the office I used to work in the UK called Baylis and Harden. It was one of the offices. Oh my God, it was such a beautiful building. And then in Birmingham, and then of course, even in Ghana. Oh my goodness, some of the workspaces I've had the opportunity to work in. I am so grateful. And then one of the things that also brought, a smile to my lips when I was reflecting was some of my colleagues. They were so funny. They would make us laugh and all. So, in fact, I had really some amazing positives in my corporate work. And then I was also reflecting on some of the things. I wouldn't call them negatives, but they were interesting feelings that now I look back and I remember. For instance, I was surprised at the time to realize that there was a certain period where I felt insecure at my job, which was surprising. I had never even thought about the security. I mean, I guess the fact that I always had a work to come to, for me, was an automatic default thinking of security. So I never really thought about it until something happened and I felt surprised to feel that I was insecure. I also realized that I disrespected some people and also got disrespected a lot. And then I had this fear of being seen as not good enough, even though some people saw me as so amazing and I just didn't see that about me. There was this one boss who was just frustrated with me because I just made a comment. I think there was an event and we were all standing there. It was late and I was like, oh, I'm not really useful here. Or I think I may have said, I'm useless here or something. Let me go home. Hey, this man was angry. Why did I see myself as useless? Like he just brought a whole case of the number of times I've seen myself as useless. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, like another boss called me and said, you are powerful, but you don't see your power. All these things I didn't see. And now that I reflect, and sometimes I laugh about it, but it's so true how I missed out on so many things because of these feelings, right? Another thing I realized was I didn't speak up when I felt I should have. The thought was there, but I was afraid that if I spoke up, I would seem disrespectful or ungrateful. Actually, I was a very young manager. I think my first managerial position came at a time when I was 24, but it's not even about the position or my age. I just happened to be the youngest manager, so I always had to be cautious, and the way I was raised and everything made me some way in terms of respect and all that. And so these were some of the thoughts I had when I was reflecting on this. And so I just asked myself, so Amma, what are some of the things that you do differently if you're a corporate manager? And I came up with 3 things. There are others, but these 3 things, if I would have, now I'm a manager still, I guess, but not in that corporate sense as in somebody's work. But these 3 things I think that are useful. 1, I would pray for direction before making decisions. Oh, dear Lord, there were times that I would decide on something only to find out there's so much more, So intuition here is really, really important. I didn't really pay attention to my intuition at the time. Another thing I'll do differently is to think before I say yes. Oh, Lord, I would say yes to everything and then just look at myself and feel miserable, sometimes resentful and all that. Oh, no. May God heal me from this. And then the final thing is I would communicate more assertively. I did not know how to communicate assertively. This got me into, arguments and unnecessary friction and all that, because I just didn't know how to communicate assertively. But the thing is that I was learning in all these experiences. So I give myself grace, and every experience that I had, all these things, even the shameful one, especially the shameful ones, they all needed to happen for my growth. They needed to happen so I can be where I am today, enjoying and thriving in the life that I am blessed with today. So it's fine. It's fine. Now, enough about me. Let me share a few things I noticed as a manager, a few things I noticed about employees, and something I'm still noticing about the people I engage with who are working for others. Now, remember, occupational wellness is sort of focused on work-life balance, but I'm focusing on work here a bit. It ties into the life and the balance later. So work with me here. First thing, I have noticed that majority of employees are dissatisfied with their occupation. Actually, for my master's in business administration, human resources option, my thesis was based on this. I've forgotten the topic, but I did a research, and it was interesting to see that more than 80% of the people I interviewed were not happy, and in fact, always constantly looking for something else to do. And a lot of employees, actually, let me pause here. If you agree to what I'm saying, be nodding your head right now. Another thing I noticed, and I'm still noticing, is constant complaint. I don't like this job, and oh my God, which anyway, I also used to do, so it's not like it's only other people and me, I'm a saint. But we used to complain a lot, and I still see people from, whatever kind of employment, car park attendants, car wash people sitting in offices with AC, wearing ties and suits. I see it everywhere. People are so, not everyone, of course, but people are so dissatisfied with the jobs that they are doing. And I remember a conversation I had with one such person who kept complaining. This person had been complaining forever. in her job. And then one day I was like, if you're so dissatisfied, why don't you leave? Is this your only option? Apparently, she was offended because later in a conversation, she said it in a very painful, like she said it with a way that, in a way that made it sound like she was really pained by my words, that, and you said I should leave, like as if I was being mean. And I thought, oh, I was actually helping you see other options. But of course, for her, this was her only option. Not just was it her only option, it was her best option. And this is someone who, I'm not judging, but perhaps the fact that she didn't have, I believe she didn't complete even primary school, and she thought where she came from, there wasn't much available for her, and all these things. So it made her feel that this was her only option. And I understood, because I guess I was also at a point thinking that, oh, whatever it was that I was doing was my only option. Now I know that this thinking is in my head. There is never only one option. We have abundance, actually. But it's difficult to see it sometimes when you are in the situation. The third thing I noticed was, oh my goodness, so much competitiveness and negativity. Oh my gosh. So for instance, I remember this conversation about with one of the employees of the company I used to work with, who was so bitter and angry because there was a position and her boss was sitting on it. Those were her words, that the boss was sitting on the promotion. And I'm thinking, but is your boss God? But actually, this was how I used to think too. We make our bosses gods and we see them as beyond God himself. And I'm thinking, so if we really believe that these human beings were also created by God, then do we believe that they are powerful enough to override whatever God wants for us? So for instance, if that position, God wants me to have it, we really think that our boss can sit on that position? Oh, well, my belief is that whatever is mine will come to me in due time. If it didn't come to me yesterday when it was available, then it wasn't my opportunity. I don't really believe in, oh, you missed. No, I didn't miss. It missed me or it wasn't meant for me. If it's meant for me, I strongly believe that it will come to me. This has been my thinking. And although sometimes I fear and I get veered away from this thinking, but it's something that is ingrained in my bones, this belief that whatever is meant for me will happen. So if there's a position and I missed it, as people say, oh, you missed it. No, I don't believe I missed it. Yes, in the moment, I may be sad, I may be miserable, angry, but at the very core, I know that I am not doing that thing because I was not meant to do it, right? So these were the three things anyway. So people being dissatisfied, people all constantly complaining and feeling stuck, and then the competitiveness and negativity. Now, I want you to ponder on these 4 questions about your own occupation right now. The key for me is that as a human being, a fabulous child of God, you should thrive not just in all other aspects of your life except your work, but you should thrive everywhere, and you should be alive. You should feel alive. At least majority of the times when you think about it, you should feel alive in your work, right? So these 4 questions, just ponder on them and see where they lead you to. And then, of course, you know what to do. It's in you already. So the first question, how do I feel when I think about going to work? This is probably the easiest to answer. Just go within yourself. Feel the feel. It's morning. You're about to wake up. Or you wake up. Sorry, you're about to get up. You wake up and you think about work. What's the feeling like for you? That's question 1. 2, what makes it important for you to be at this particular workplace? For instance, Is this workplace supporting your lifestyle? This particular reason, the work supporting your lifestyle, sometimes we forget how important this is to us. But think about it. Perhaps the amount of money is bringing you, or the flexibility is bringing you, or something, some sort of benefit is supporting the lifestyle that you enjoy. And so for that reason, it makes it important to you. It may also be a learning opportunity. I've heard people talk about certain giant multinationals and how, oh my goodness, that they describe it as, oh, that workplace was a school. So is it that for you? Is it that you are at the level where you feel you need to soak in a lot, and this company is giving you that opportunity? These are things that you want to really think about and let it come to the forefront before you make any decision. Another question that I encourage you to ponder on especially is, are the organization's values aligned with mine? So for instance, I have heard at least 2 pharmacists who left their, wherever they were working, they used to sell drugs, chemicals and all that. And they left it because they realized that they were actually not effective, and there are other alternatives, other natural alternatives. And these people are into that now, selling things that they believe in. So sometimes you may work in a place that gives you a lot of things, but you feel unsettled because there could be a value there. It could be the product they are selling or the way they sell something that is off for you. You want to really, really think about it and ask, is it in alignment? Speaking of values, another thing could be even the mission of the company or the vision. Is it in alignment with your own? Because then you find aliveness doing things that you are aligned to. Is it to or with? The final question, which I love to ask my clients and especially training participants and all that, is, if you had a year to live, would you be doing what you are doing now? Would you be doing it? The whole point is to feel alive, to feel well, to thrive, to have your clear skin, to be able to do the things that you enjoy in life, like your hobbies and all. And so if you are in an occupation, and remember, occupation here, I'm just defining the part that is bringing you income. If you are in an occupation that is not allowing you to be alive, I don't mean it literally as in it's killing you, you are going to stop breathing, but it's sucking the life out of you. You are unhappy, you're miserable, you're not able to live your values, you're not able to enjoy what you're doing. Please, there's infinite wisdom in you. Think about it and do what you need to do. I am wrapping up. And before I wrap up, I think the biggest thing I really, really wanted to touch on is the belief in abundance. That perception that, oh, there's one rule and there are 3 people available and one person gets it and the other 2 have failed or they've lost, I believe is something we really need to look at, because it's never a loss for the 2 who didn't get it. They have always more opportunities. We are not stuck in that one company. We are not stuck with that one client that if I lose this business, it means forever I've lost everything. No, it's never like that. There's so much abundance. I'm just remembering a personal experience. That's why I giggled. There's so much abundance. So if that one thing that you really, really, really wanted didn't happen now, please let it go and trust that in due time, as you're working hard and you are just following what you have to follow, yours will come. In due time, not ahead of, not too late. God is always on time. At least that's my belief. And then the final thing I want to leave with you is, please, before saying yes to a new role, ask yourself, what makes it important for me to have this role? Let me end with a story, a recent story I heard. So someone I know who called and was already moaning in the way this person was talking. I could really feel some moans in the way they were describing how work is, how their lives are, how they are traveling here and there. And, work life is already stressful. And then this person, oh, by the way, not only is this person in full-time employment, this person also runs some businesses, is involved in many church programs, social activities. This person is very resourceful, so people like to give them responsibilities, right? And then this person reaches out to me, and what's their focus? Oh, they are considering a new opportunity because they feel like their workplace is not challenging enough. And so we got talking, and as I was asking them the question, I wanted to just challenge them to think about the real importance of accepting this new role, given how their life already is. Is this really what they want? And what additional value or impact will this work bring, And so this is what I would really encourage you to do. Think about it. What makes it important? Is it the prestige? I think that sometimes prestige plays a huge role. I remember someone who left a really lucrative business because it was considered, not good enough for someone who had finished university, and then came to sit in an office with me. I was looking at this person and feeling sad in my heart, but it is well. Is it prestige? Is it money? Is it opportunity for growth? Is it actual impact of the work? This is so important, the impact of your work. For some of us, we are driven by impact. And you may be doing something like people who work in development organizations, approving grants or helping NGOs and philanthropists and things like that work. That could be something that will really energize you. It could also be flexibility. Like for me, flexibility is one of my biggest values, right next to fun, and faith. Flexibility, fun, faith. These really, really matter to me. And so if I'm going to do anything, I would want to be able to have flexibility. I mean, I've said no to a couple of things because it wasn't giving me the flexibility that I needed. So you think about it. Everyone is different. Maybe for you, you don't like flexibility. You like to have start to finish, knowing that there are no surprises, That's also fine. But think really, really deeply. Remember to choose aliveness over anything else. You want to be alive in every sense of the word. You want to be alive in your spirit, in your soul, and in your body. So this brings me to the end. I know that I didn't look at the complete aspect of occupational. I just focused on a bit because of what I felt drawn to speak about. If this has been of value to you, of course, share with me in the chat or in the comments as always. And remember, mind your business. It's a free resource, but if you prefer to work with me one-on-one, then go to amaduncan.com/store to book a discovery call with me. Before you go, I hope you've heard of IFAB, International Fabulous Women's Conference. The next one is in March, 3rd to 6th March 2023, and as usual, I'll share more information. It will be a pleasure to welcome you. Until then, toodles, bye.